Hey you guys, today we are going to be making breaded pork cutlet and stuffed mushrooms. This is very simple to do. You just get a pork cutlet from your store. I have mine here seasoned with a little bit of rosemary seasoning. And the first thing you're going to do is slice it nice and thin if it's not thin already. We're going to get our meat tenderizer. We're going to pound it out nice and thin. On both sides, we are going for a thin cutlet here. So make sure it is nice and thin. Okay. That's great. Now, what we have here is our breading. We have flour, egg, and some breadcrumbs. To our breadcrumb mixture, we are going to be adding a little bit more of the rosemary and garlic seasoning. You can use any kind of spices or seasoning that you'd like. This one is absolutely delicious with pork as well as with the mushrooms. So we're going to add that on in. We're going to add some black pepper to our seasoning as well. And we are going to be adding some Parmesan cheese to that as well. Going to give that a nice mix. And the first thing we're going to do is get these guys breaded up. So the flour is going to go first. First we plop them in the flour. The flour is going to help the egg to stick, and the egg is going to help the breadcrumbs to stick. So that's step one. Right on into the egg. And right into our breadcrumbs. Now I am using regular Italian breadcrumbs for this. You can get them at your local grocery store. You can also get like a seasoned breadcrumb. They do have ones that have a little bit more spice to them, already mixed in the seasoning. Okay, so there's our first one. And here's our second one, getting ready to go. And those little grooves from the tenderizer really going to help everything stick. And it's also going to make the meat absolutely delicious. It's not going to be tough. The other thing about breadcrumbs too, if you wanted to do a panko breadcrumb, you could do that as well. It's got a little bit more of a crispy crust going on. You could do that as well. Alright, so we're going to take these guys. We're going to just make sure everybody's got a nice layer of breadcrumb. We're going to put these to the side just for now. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands. And now, it's a great time to make our stuffed mushrooms because we have all this great stuff left over. Now don't worry about the cross-contamination because everything's going to get cooked off. So you're not going to want your flour. What you're going to want is some nice mushrooms. Here I have white button mushrooms. And I remove the stems. I clean them very well. I scrub them with a sponge. You want to make sure you remove all the dirt from your mushrooms. I just gently toss them with a little bit of olive oil. And I took the stems, I grounded them up and put them in my food processor. Got them nice and small. This is going to help with our stuffing. Now, to these ground mushroom stems, I'm going to add the egg. Whatever's left over, that's why I said this is great for using up all of your leftovers. And I'm also going to add leftover breadcrumb. And we're going to mix everything together to get our filling. Let's mix that up nice and good. Get this going. You want to incorporate it very nicely. All of that breadcrumb and the egg and the little pieces of mushroom. Like I said, perfect time to use up all those leftovers. Alright, so now what we have here is a pan, shallow pan. I did a little bit of my spaghetti sauce at the bottom. And we're just going to quickly stuff these mushrooms and just lay them right in that sauce. Now the sauce is going to keep them soft. It'll stop them from over drying. If you don't want to do sauce, you don't have to. Just put them on a pan with a nice coating of probably olive oil. You want to spray it something non-stick so the bottom of your mushrooms are not going to stick to your pan. Stuffed mushrooms are absolutely delicious. I didn't really like them so much when I was a kid, but now that I'm getting older, I definitely enjoy the flavor. They are super healthy for you. The flavors that you can stuff inside can be so different. Anything from like a blue cheese and bacon stuffing to a cheddar cheese and, you know, all sorts of different things that you can do. But the reason I want to do this kind today is because you've got all this great leftover breadcrumb and you don't want it to go to waste. So we'll just make sure our guys are nice and topped pretty well. Give them nice big dollops there. Mushrooms are a very healthy food. The stuffing part is not so much, but you gotta enjoy a little bit. So now I'm just sprinkling the tops with some extra pepper. Just a little bit more of that rosemary seasoning on the top. This rosemary seasoning I've seen in Stu Leonard's, Trader Joe's, a couple different supermarkets will have this. Rosemary and mushroom go very well together. So I have an oven preheated to 400. I'm gonna pop these guys in. We're gonna let them cook. And now we're gonna move over to the frying of our pork cutlets. Now, our pork cutlets are very thin, so they're not gonna take super long to cook. What you wanna do is get your oil piping hot. Good way to tell is if when you stick a toothpick in, a chopstick, when you stick a chopstick in, you'll see little bubbles forming at the bottom of the chopstick. Don't use a toothpick. That is gonna hurt you very much. So use a chopstick. All right, we're getting ready to go here. And I'm just gonna put them in very gently. And you hear that sizzle. They're gonna start to cook. We're gonna give them just a couple minutes on each side. Another thing that my family used to do with the leftover filling mixture was to form them into little patties and just make them into like little, I don't know, little cutlets of breadcrumb. That's a real Italian thing we used to do as well, so we don't waste anything. All right, let's take a look at our cutlets over here. A little bit of that breadcrumb is falling off, but that's okay. We want to get them nice and thin and crisp. It's almost like a schnitzel, where it's that thin breaded cutlet. It smells delicious, you guys. You can smell the rosemary coming through and the Parmesan cheese. You want to keep an eye on around the edges. When you start to see it getting a little bit golden brown, you'll know when to get ready to flip. I'm going to move them around a little bit here in my pan just to make sure they're getting an even heat distribution. I'm going to get ready to flip this guy over. If you do not want to fry these, you can certainly put them in your oven and bake them instead. Just use a non-stick pan or a simple coating of a pan spray just so that the breadcrumb doesn't stick to the bottom. You can also cook them on, like I did with the mushrooms, with a little coating of sauce at the bottom. Okay, so we will check back with you guys in just a couple minutes once everything is cooked through and when our delicious mushrooms are done as well. What you're going to want to do once these are done on both sides, just drain them on a paper towel on a plate so we can remove some of that excess oil. Our mushrooms have been cooking in the oven for about 20 minutes. The outsides have turned a nice brown color. The sauce has heated up nicely. And here is our pork cutlet. It is cooked absolutely perfectly. It's nice and crisp on the outside, nice and tender and juicy on the inside. I also threw in the oven as well some squash and some onions that got nice and caramelized. So what we'll do is we'll add a little bit of our sauce to our dish here. Delicious to dip your pork into. Maybe we'll do a little dollop right on the top there, and we'll grab a couple of our delicious stuffed mushrooms right on our plate for an incredibly delicious dinner. Check this out, you guys. Now I have a piece of pork from the other cutlet that I sliced just to show you. It's cooked through. The skin is nice and crispy. Let's have a taste. Mmm. So juicy. So juicy on the inside. The outside's got that nice crunch. Let's dip a little in that sauce there. Let's give that a whirl. Mmm. And the tomato sauce really complements it nicely. Absolutely delicious. I'm going to take this outside on my porch and enjoy it for dinner. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy the videos, please like and subscribe, and I love reading your comments. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day. Bye.